First of all, congratulations on the movie.
Thanks.
I am very curious about how this came together for you. I heard it was a passion project of Tobey's.
Yeah, it was. Steve Knight and I are friends, and we had worked together on another project that has yet to see the light of day when he first came to America. So I knew about this script and was very envious of the fact that he was doing it, and that David Fincher had attached himself to do it. And then, through a variety of circumstances, David demurred and chose to do another movie. And I got a call from Tobey, whom I had met because of his friendship with Leonardo DiCaprio. They're childhood friends, and I got to know them when I was working with DiCaprio on Blood Diamond. So he called and said, would I be interested to read this? And I was more than interested. And then there began our collaboration, and then mine with Steve and Tobey together for the next couple of years, actually leading to production.
Well, one of the things about the story that I think people are not going to, maybe they're going to think it's fictionalized or Hollywoodized, is the fact that this match was the biggest thing on the planet. It was so massive and real life.
It was really, I think, I sort of date the beginning of international media culture to it. Before this moment, yes, the Beatles had been a phenomenon around the world, and there had been other things that had happened, but in this political sphere, for there to be this game that was tied into the sort of social political realm was a new phenomenon. And you have to remember that the SALT II talks were beginning. This is before Watergate has been discovered, and so it somehow was coincidental with this extraordinary rise in focus on celebrity and personality, and he was right at the center of it.
100%. How long was your first cut versus what is getting released?
Not very different. When you're making an independent movie, particularly one where you don't have a lot of money, you're well advised to be as close to final cut in your script as you can be. So I think, I don't know what this running time of this movie is. Is it like 110 minutes? Something like that. I think we were maybe about 7 or 8 or 9 minutes longer. It wasn't a huge, reduction that we did.
When you look back on all your movies, was there one film that you had like a 3.5-hour cut, and then it was?
No, but there is a great story involving Glory. The beginning of the script of Glory, and it wasn't a cut that we ever showed the studio, but when we put the assembly together, the first 2 reels of the film talk about young Robert Gould Shaw when he is an abolitionist at the Brook Farm utopian community, and about his friendship with young Searles, and about his training in the military, and his mother, and listening to someone read Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it's very much about the backstory. And when we put the movie together, we realized very quickly that the movie began with this young man on the battlefield at Antietam, and we went snip, snip, and dumped the first 2 reels. And you can imagine the studio's reaction when they saw the movie starting at that point. Fortunately, they liked it, and fortunately, it worked. But there's a great story actually about Frank Capra with Lost Horizons.
Oh, I love that movie.
Well, but the movie that you see begins with these people coming onto the plane, and they go off, and then they go down into Shangri-La. But the first reel or 2 reels of that movie are all the individual characters in their separate lives as they're coming to this moment to get on the plane. And I later learned that he did the exact same thing. Snip, snip. Because in movies, you learn a lot by seeing characters in res, and you can supply a lot more that isn't even there, and you inevitably need less exposition than you think you need.
Yeah, I think that is... I have this conversation with so many filmmakers and so many people about the fact that Hollywood loves to kill it with exposition.
Yeah.
And the audience is smarter than that.
That's right. And having learned that lesson on my second movie, I'd like to think that I've held on to some of it now in my process as the years have gone on.
Getting back to Pawn, was there anything that you learned from the friends and family screening or a test screening that impacted the editing?
You're asking good questions. You actually know the process, don't you? You do.
I've done this at least once or twice.
You have. Yeah. I mean, look, I have a group of friends who I really trust to tell me when I'm full of shit. I do. And there are not many people in Hollywood, particularly the more work you do, who are willing to do that. In fact, my friends seem to take relish in doing it. But
And by the way, that's why they keep on getting invited to the friends and family
right.
screenings.
That's right. I remember two things. I remember the fact that they said they wanted to better understand and chart the rise of his celebrity in the piece. And that led me to go deeper into some of the use of the doc footage and the ambient universe of the public sphere, and as I went on to do more cuts of the movie. And the other thing they said, which I thought was really smart, is that they said that charting of his decline, which is told in parallel to his rise, has got to have as strong a heartbeat in it as does the sort of more conventional, prize fighter story of going up against the champ.
How involved was Tobey in the editing room, or is he one of these people that just wants to see it? Do you know what I mean? Because he's a producer, this passion project.
He was exceedingly generous about the cut when he saw it. He was very involved in the development of the script, and as we would work on the scenes and work together before shooting. But when we got to shooting, he was there to work and do his job as an actor, and then in the cut he was, certainly had things to say, but he was really respectful.
What's the project, when you've made some big movies, what has been a project or two that you came really close to getting going, one that you really wanted to do and for whatever reason it fell apart? Does it still haunt you?
A little bit. It's funny, Marshall and I wrote a draft of In the Heart of the Sea that then got sold to another studio that Ron has just made.
Sure.
I haven't seen the movie yet, and I love the book and love the story. I'll be very curious to see what he did. There was a very early moment where I turned down Forrest Gump.
It wasn't anything, don't worry.
No, and what else? There's actually something that we have written, and we wrote it a while ago, and sold, and people really like that. For various reasons, we've not yet gotten made yet, but we're going to.
Does it have a title? Or you can't say?
Yeah, it's called The Making of.
Okay.
Yeah.
That can open the door to so many different things.
Yeah.
That's funny. When I wanted to get back to deleted scenes and stuff with your previous films.
Sure.
Is there, some filmmakers are, relish making sure that certain things don't get seen.
Yeah.
Are there a lot of deleted scenes that have still never seen the light of day from a lot of your films? Or is it pretty much, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there are. Yes. But I've been very lucky to have had Final Cut in my movie, so I don't believe that there's a director's cut other than the cut that I made. So those things that are left out of the movie are the things that I want left out of the movie. That being said, there are scenes from Legends of the Fall that just didn't make it in the movie, and I determined didn't need to be there. There are scenes from, trying to think. I don't know. Gosh, I haven't really thought about that. It's not like there are a lot of those that come to mind.
How much do you, as a director, rely on storyboards on set versus having storyboards made but then throwing them out?
I think the latter. I think, you write a shot list or you go through and make boards because it's an intellectual exercise that tells you about the beats that need to be there in the story. But then you get on the set and it's inevitably different. And also to rely only on the boards, I think, eliminates the possibility of accident and that happy discovery that you never would have thought of if you were already over-determined as to what you were doing. Certainly in action. There are things in action that you need to do for the reasons of safety or CG or, weapons and squibs and vehicles and all those things that you have to know. On the other hand, they can also, stand in as those stations of the cross that you need to, hit, tick the boxes. So that, like any scene, it has a beginning, middle, and an end. But inevitably, there will be an idea that, or something you can't do because it's a sort of denied the laws of physics in trying to accomplish, and you have to find another way to do. And I'm often convinced that as directors, one reason that we actually get hired is because we can figure it out on the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before I run out of time with you, I have to ask about Jack Reacher 2.
Yeah.
Because I thought the first one was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
I loved the grounded nature of it, the practical, the car chase, everything. It was very well done. What can you tease people about what you guys are going to do? Because I heard you start filming in October.
Yeah, we do. The nice thing about the franchise, it seems to me, is that it's almost an anthology. He gets involved in something very different in each of those books, with a different cast of characters and a different set of circumstances and things that happen to him. I'd like to think this will satisfy those who really like the character, but I think they will see him and see this as very much of a standalone movie, as each of them, I think, hopes to be.
Well, it's interesting because it was moving forward before Mission Impossible. Then the worldwide success of Mission Impossible, I'm sure now is more like, oh, Tom wants to do Jack.
Well, that's actually not entirely true. They had this. What was amazing is the movie performed, but not as well as they'd hoped.
Oh, the first one.
First one.
Right.
But what they discovered is in its ancillary markets that people just found it and kept buying it and streaming it and all of this, that it went sort of through the roof, that the audience there was a bit of a long tail. So they were already in the process of, I had begun work on this and writing the draft long before Mission came out. So they were already determined to make this.
Oh, no, totally. But I'm sure that it helps when the success of Mission Impossible.
Let's put it this way, it's not going to hurt.
Right, exactly. How much, obviously there's many books, how much are you looking at those for inspiration versus also, it's a movie and I'm going to...
It's one book in particular. Obviously I've read some other books to try to really acquaint myself with the character. It's one book in particular, but it's also very much a movie unto itself that Tom and Marshall and I and Don Granger have all tried to decide to make. And I don't think it'll disappoint those who know the book, but it really takes something from the book and departs as well.
One of the things that I admire so much about Tom Cruise is his ability to do stunts himself. Mm-hmm. He really puts himself out there.
He does.
It's amazing. Is this a project that's going to test his boundaries, or is this one of these where, do you know what I mean? 'Cause
listen, anytime anybody does a fight in a movie with a trained stuntman and they really do the fight themselves, they're already pushing the boundaries. And the nature of the fights in this are very realistic, and it isn't a double doing them. And so already there's going to be that. I think there will be something particular, maybe not as grand and as operatic as hanging from a plane, but I think it will really be yet another version of some of the kind of things that he's done.
One of the things that a lot of us really loved about the first one is that car chase, the stuff with the car, practical stuff. Are you going practical again in terms of?
It's very grounded. The emotions are grounded. The action is grounded. Mission Impossible 5 is a extraordinary accomplishment of a very particular kind, and we would be foolish, I think, to try to replicate it for a different genre. So this is going to be itself.
Where are you filming the movie?
New Orleans.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
They have a nice tax incentive there, but also great locations.
They do. And this is actually, it's a story that ends up in New Orleans itself, so New Orleans itself becomes the character.
Oh, so that was actually, you were hoping to shoot there regardless.
Both, yeah.
Is this one of these things where you get really mad that you have to do, location scouting, especially in New Orleans with all the restaurants? It's really tough.
Yeah, that's hard. No, I mean, actually what's tough, legitimately, is the fact that it's been 95 degrees with, about 89% humidity, and that's just no picnic. But other than that, it's been great.
Yeah, but you also lucked out if you're filming in October. That's like the perfect time.
Thankfully.
Recently, everyone's going digital. Are you the type that wants to stay with film? You're making the conversion?
I shot Upon Sacrifice on digital with Brad Young, who's one of the great cinematographers, but we're going to shoot Jack Reacher on film.
Look at that!
Yeah.
I'm assuming widescreen or not widescreen?
We're going to shoot we're going to shoot Super 35, and we're going to shoot, Oliver Wood is shooting it, who's one of the great DPs of our day.
I love the IMAX format. I'm a huge IMAX guy.
Not for this movie.
I understand this, but what do you think? Because right now I've heard that they have the smaller camera that's more compact.
I have heard that.
Right, I have too. I've done a lot of research into this.
Yeah.
How much do you want to? How much shooting an IMAX 3D type of thing is something that's playing around in your brain?
It's all about what is appropriate. What is the form that's best for the content? And so far, I haven't found that movie yet. If I do, I would love to play around.
Cool. I got to wrap with you, but I'm going to say congratulations on this.
Thanks.
Sincerely, and can't wait for Jack Reacher.
Thanks a lot.
Let me hit.